What's up, everybody? So we're out in the shop with another Shop Talk Tuesday, and in this episode we are working on the chopper build. So this is made out of 5160 leaf spring material. It is over a 1/4 of an inch thick at the spine, and then it tapers down through the tang. We need to focus on getting the bevels ground into this blade. Now, there's a few things that we have to think about when it comes to grinding in your bevels. For one, how thick do we want our edge to be pre-heat treat? Do we want it to be the thickness of a dime, a penny, a nickel? What do we want to do there? Are we going off of actual thousandths of an inch and stuff like that? Me, I'm going with the thickness of a nickel. I've already marked with my Sharpie, so Sharpie right there, and then my calipers, I've already marked my edge thickness all the way down there. That also sets up your center so that you know where to grind to, and you know that everything's going to be straight whenever you're looking down it. So what we need to do now is we need to start grinding these in. There's a few things that I've marked on here. So you saw the edge right there. Then we also have this line going all the way down here on both sides. We know that that is where we want our bevels to end up after everything, hand sanding, the whole nine. So what we need to do is leave about 1/8 of an inch of room between the bevels when we stop today and that line, so that whenever we do our heat treat process and then we come back over here and we grind off our decarb, it brings it up to that line, and then we can hand sand it and everything will be nice and good to go. So we mark those lines, we mark our edge. Then what we got to do is go ahead and grind our 45-degree angle so we can remove that 90-degree angle right here, that guy. We need to put a 45-degree bevel on there going straight to our center lines that we have right there. What that's going to do is make it to where we can use a worn out or a used 36 grit belt, grind that off, put that 45 on there, so that when we go and switch to our brand new belt to get these bevels done fast, we're not ripping all of that nice new belt up on that 90-degree angle. We want to use a worn belt so that we're not sacrificing anything. Grind that 45, and then all we got to do is bring that 45 degree as high as we want on here by focusing on where we're going to put our pressure. Now, for this particular build, we're going to be doing an angled plunge line. We're going to be using our plunge line jig that we have here, and then we are going to be freehanding our bevels. When we start grinding, I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple more things, but for right now, let's go ahead, let's jump into this, and let's get this thing knocked out. So we're going to be using a worn out shredder belt by Combat Abrasives. Now it takes a while to wear these belts out. These things last for a really long time, but we're going to be using this to grind in that 45-degree bevel right there. And then we're going to switch to a brand new belt, and we'll slowly start bringing this down and working that bevel up higher and higher and higher. And we're going to be moving in as we start doing that, so that we can bring that bevel up as high as we want. You know, the more pressure we add towards the spine right here, the higher we're going to bring that bevel up. But you want to gradually do it, because if you grind in this 45 and then you instantly start doing this right here, it's going to take you a while. You want to slowly grind that bevel up so that you can watch your line come up as you're going to see if you need to adjust something, adjust your pressure, all those types of things. Now, one of the things that we're going to be doing on this, which is a little bit different than a regular blade, is on a regular blade we would come to here and then we would kind of rock our tang back a little bit to round up that bevel. On this, we just need to go straight and straight and straight, because we want to keep this line perfectly straight and not swoop up. So for now, we need to go ahead, grind this in, and go from there. So now we've ground in that 45 on one side all the way to that marked edge that we have there. We need to go ahead, do it on this side, and that right there will mean that our cutting edge that we have going into heat treat is done. All we need to do from this point is just bring this bevel up higher and higher and higher. And now it's going to be less, hard on that brand new belt because we're not trying to remove this 90-degree angle the whole entire time. Just a gradual bevel increase. So now I'm going to go ahead, do this other side. We're going to slap on a new belt and we'll go from there. So now that we have our 45-degree bevels on both sides here, we're going to go ahead and start bringing those up with this brand new 36 grit shredder belt. Now the thing with this is, again, as we start grinding this and bringing that bevel up higher and higher and higher on this, it's just going to be the amount of pressure that we put towards the spine to slowly bring that up. There's going to be a lot of just this motion right here. I'm going to give y'all some of the highlights, might do a couple of different camera angles, but we're going to go ahead, grind this down, and then we're going to switch to a 120 grit belt, and then we'll go ahead and Scotch Brite it, and that's what we're going to leave it as before we go into heat treat. So let's go ahead, get some grinding done. So one of the things that's going to make it a lot easier to make sure we keep that line nice and straight as we're going through is nice even motions as we're doing this and trying to repeat that same motion. I know that this is a little daunting for some people, and there's something to think about. If you're going to be doing an angle plunge line like this and a grind like this, you're not right here and doing that standard stay in one motion, lock your elbows to your side, and just go side to side. You've got to actually tilt this a little bit, and then your hands, even though you're still going side to side, your hands aren't even like this. So you got to make sure that you're keeping a consistent grip right here, and you're pulling across. Don't be afraid to move your knees a little bit and just come across, because the whole point is keeping this plunge line jig even with the edge of your platen as you start pulling through, so that it meets each time, and that's going to help keep everything straight. So we're just going to go to the tip, go to plunge line, tip, plunge line, but a lot of that is still this motion, just your hands are tilted. So it's just something to think about. And let's say you needed to focus on a little bit up here, a little bit more, because this line starts dropping down and this bevel over here is higher. All you gotta do is come in, slightly focus on that piece right there. And something to know about, I'm not sitting here pushing into this belt and going ridiculous with it. I'm putting my blade on it, resting it on it, putting a little bit of pressure, but I'm letting the belt do all of the work. I'm not trying to grind and just shove this blade into here, because for my machine it's going to bog it down a lot. So I can do light pressure here, remove a little bit of material, and then push past. You don't want to just go here and then pull off, and then here and then pull off, and then here and pull it off, because what you're going to do is mess up your line even more, and then you're going to try and chase it out. So you want to go in, get this little section straight, and then push through, pull through, push through, pull through a couple of times, and that's going to even out everything so you don't end up with a little gouge here. You don't want to just keep going to that little section, because you're going to end up putting a little bobble in there. So with that being said, we need to go back and grind some more, keep bringing that bevel up. So right now we're going to be switching to a new 120 grit belt to just get rid of those 36 grit grinding lines before we hop over to the Scotch-Brite belt. This definitely always looks super fantastic after that Scotch-Brite belt. I love that transition. Of course, we're going to talk more about this stuff whenever we do the outro, but that's where we're at right there. We'll bring you up, get this finished out. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and wrap this one up right here with some of that. Don't you just love some nice, crisp, smooth bevels? I think that this is turning out absolutely awesome. And that profile is just something else. I really like the way this is turning out. Love that transition right there. Now, one of the things that I was going to focus on in this episode was working on the tang of this, possibly thinning it out a little bit or hollow grinding the center section. I think what I'm going to do is wait until after the heat treat process to do that, just in case I got to take a little bit of meat off of here to kind of straighten things up. If we get a little bit of a warp or something like that, I want to leave the meat on the bone in this area so that I can make sure that everything lines up exactly how it needs to. But I'm really digging this so far, and I want to know what y'all think about this. Do y'all like this profile? Do y'all like the way the bevels are turning out with that little bit of flat going across there with all the texture? That is just something else. Man, this is cool. So, that's where we're at. Guys, in the next Shop Talk Tuesday, what we got to focus on is heat treating this. So heat treating some 5160 knife action. That's what we're going to work on. So be on the lookout for that episode next week. Now of course we're still doing our daily uploads for this week. They're going to release anywhere from 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock each day. I'm not trying to stress myself out for those particular videos. Those are just things that we're working on when we're working on them. So it kind of can be released anywhere between 5 and 9. But be on the lookout for all of those, guys. Thank y'all for coming by. If y'all would, give this video a thumbs up, share this video or one of my other videos. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank y'all again for coming by. Y'all have an amazing day. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll catch y'all next time.